Tonight, we're going to explore a magical world where the stars whisper secrets and the moon is a guiding friend. Imagine a soft breeze rustling through the trees, a cozy little house with windows glowing from the inside, and a blanket of twinkling stars above. In this peaceful place lives a curious little bear named Toby. Toby wasn't like the other bears who loved to sleep in their warm caves. No, Toby had a different idea. He wanted to know what lies beyond the hills, what the stars are made of, and where the rainbow begins. Every night, as the world around him grew still and calm, Toby's heart raced with excitement. What could he discover today? Toby sat by the window, his little paws resting on the sill, his eyes fixed on the sparkling sky. With a big yawn, he decided that tonight was the night. Tonight, he would follow the star trail. Are you ready to join Toby on his adventure? The stars are waiting, and the night is young. Let's follow Toby and see where his curiosity leads us. Toby, the little bear, lived in a cozy hollow deep in the forest. Every morning as the soft light of dawn stretched across the sky, Toby would wake up with the gentle chirping of birds outside his window. The world was always quiet at first, as if it was still sleepy, just like Toby. His little paws stretched out as he yawned, and with a soft sniff, he breathed in the fresh, earthy scent of the woods. It was the start of another peaceful day. He would rise slowly from his bed of soft moss, which felt warm and inviting like a hug. He padded over to the kitchen, where he found a bowl of sweet honeyed berries, the ones he loved most. As he ate, the birds outside sang their familiar song, their melodies flowing gently through the air. Each note felt like a friend's voice, calling out to him in a language only the forest understood. After breakfast, Toby would take a slow walk through the forest, his little paws crunching softly on the leaf-covered ground. He'd pass the tall, ancient trees, each one like a friendly giant who whispered stories of days long past. The sunlight filtered through the leaves above, creating golden pools of light that danced on the forest floor. He would stop for a moment in those pools, closing his eyes and soaking in the warmth, feeling the gentle breeze ruffle his fur. Every day, the forest seemed the same, yet there was always something new. Maybe it was the way the leaves fluttered in the wind or how the squirrels chattered merrily from the treetops. It was a world that felt steady and secure, full of little wonders hidden in every corner. But one morning, something felt a little different. As Toby walked along his usual path, he noticed a soft, shimmering glow coming from the meadow ahead. It was faint at first, just a little spark of light flickering in the distance. At first, Toby thought it was the sunlight catching a dewdrop on a spider's web. But this light seemed to move, slowly, gracefully, like it had a life of its own. Curiosity tugged at Toby's heart. His feet moved towards the glow, quiet and soft, as though the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The breeze seemed to slow down, the bird's song softening, as if the world itself was whispering to him, "Come closer, Toby." As he drew near, the light became brighter, its glow gentle but warm, like the first rays of the sun just before dawn. It wasn't a single light, but a trail, a path of glowing, soft orbs, floating just above the ground, leading deeper into the forest. The path seemed to stretch on forever, winding and twisting, as though it were inviting Toby to follow. Toby's heart fluttered in his chest. He had never seen anything like this before. His usual world of calm, familiar routine suddenly felt more mysterious, more magical. And though he was unsure of what the lights meant, a sense of peace washed over him, making his decision clear. This was something worth exploring. With a soft breath, Toby's paws stepped forward, each step gentle and steady. The lights shimmered as though they were welcoming him, dancing in the air with each movement of his little paws. The path seemed to glow even brighter, as though it were lighting up just for him, guiding him further into the unknown. Toby smiled, his curiosity now fully awakened. The peaceful rhythm of his days was beginning to change, and he felt a spark of excitement deep inside. There was no rush, no hurry. It felt right to follow this gentle, glowing trail, to see where it might lead. And so, with a gentle flutter of his paws, Toby began to follow the glowing path through the forest, his heart filled with wonder and anticipation, but also with a sense of calm. Whatever lay ahead, Toby knew he was ready. Toby's paws moved softly across the forest floor, each step taking him further into the mystery of the glowing path. The trees around him seemed to stand a little taller, their branches gently swaying, almost as if they were guiding him too. The glow of the lights shimmered through the thick, soft underbrush, lighting his way in the most peaceful, gentle manner. The further he walked, the more the path seemed to open up, and soon, the forest felt even quieter, as if all the creatures had paused to watch Toby's journey. The air grew sweeter here, as though the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting for what might come next. Toby took in the peaceful silence, broken only by the soft rustling of leaves and the faint whispers of wind through the trees. His heart beat a little faster now, but not in fear. No, it was the kind of excitement that made you feel light and free, as though you were walking through a dream. Soon, Toby noticed something else. The lights began to pulse, glowing a little brighter, then softer, like the rhythmic breathing of a sleeping animal. He watched with wide eyes, his paws still moving quietly forward, his mind racing with curiosity. What could this be? Was it magic? Or perhaps some otherworldly creature was leading him on an adventure? With each glowing step, Toby felt a gentle warmth, almost like a hug, wrapping around him. It was comforting and familiar, and he found himself smiling. The gentle glow illuminated his little face, making his brown fur shine softly in the night. There was no fear in him now, just wonder, like he was in the middle of a wonderful, peaceful dream. The path seemed to stretch endlessly ahead, yet Toby wasn't tired. His excitement fueled him, but the calm nature of the journey kept him grounded. He could feel the soft breeze on his face, hear the distant call of an owl, and smell the earthy scent of moss and trees, as though nature itself were guiding him along. Suddenly, the lights seemed to gather together, forming a soft, glowing shape in the distance. It was faint at first, like a distant star, but as he drew closer, Toby saw that it was the shape of a beautiful, glowing flower. Its petals shimmered in hues of blue, pink, and silver, with soft beams of light escaping from each delicate petal. It was unlike anything Toby had ever seen. The flower seemed to float in midair, its glow dancing like the softest of lanterns. Toby's breath caught in his chest. This was no ordinary flower. He stepped forward, slowly and gently, careful not to disturb its peaceful glow. The flower pulsed softly, its light reaching out to him, wrapping around him like a soft blanket. Toby felt the warmth in his chest grow, and for a moment, everything felt still, perfectly still. There was no sound except for his soft breathing, the gentle rustle of leaves far away, and the rhythmic pulse of the glowing flower. For a moment, Toby wasn't sure whether the flower had appeared just for him, or whether it had always been here, waiting for someone to find it. But one thing was clear. He was meant to be here, meant to follow this path, meant to discover what lay ahead. He reached out with one small paw, touching the soft, glowing petals of the flower. It felt warm and silky, like the softest fabric. And as he touched it, the glow seemed to spread out even more, brighter and softer, wrapping around him in a peaceful, gentle embrace. Toby's heart swelled with joy and wonder. This moment felt magical, like a dream that had come true. He closed his eyes for a moment, breathing in the calm air and listening to the gentle hum of the forest around him. It was as if the forest itself had become a part of this magical moment. And Toby knew, deep in his heart, that this was just the beginning. With a soft sigh, Toby pulled his paw back, looking up at the glowing flower with wide, bright eyes. He knew that his journey wasn't over. In fact, it was only just starting. The flower, glowing with quiet radiance, seemed to beckon him forward, encouraging him to continue, to see where this path would lead. Toby took one last look at the glowing flower, then turned his gaze forward, where the glowing path stretched out even farther into the forest. With a deep breath, he took another step, his little paws steady and sure. And so, with his heart full of wonder and his mind buzzing with excitement, Toby began to follow the glowing path once again, his curiosity growing with each step. The stars above twinkled softly, and the world around him seemed to glow with a soft, welcoming light, as if nature itself were embracing him on this gentle, magical adventure. Toby continued along the glowing path, his paws soft against the mossy ground. As he moved deeper into the forest, the air felt lighter, almost playful, as though the trees themselves were whispering secrets to each other. The further he ventured, the more the world around him seemed to shift. The forest, once quiet and peaceful, now had a subtle, playful energy that made Toby's heart race with excitement. Suddenly, the path before him opened up into a meadow, and Toby stopped in his tracks. He blinked in surprise. The meadow was alive with color. Flowers of every shade were in full bloom, their petals shimmering as if they were made of soft, glowing glass. The breeze moved through them gently, and each flower seemed to giggle, their petals fluttering like tiny, happy wings. Toby smiled. He had never seen anything quite like this before. He stepped forward, drawn by the beauty and the cheerful sounds. But as he moved, he noticed something even more wonderful. A group of tiny, glowing creatures hopping from flower to flower. They were the size of butterflies, but with tiny wings that sparkled like stars in the night sky. They danced through the air, giggling as they went, leaving trails of twinkling light behind them. Toby's eyes widened in wonder. He stepped forward cautiously, unsure if they would be startled by his presence. But the little creatures didn't seem to mind at all. They noticed him almost immediately, and one by one, they flew down, circling around him in playful patterns. They were like little lights, flickering and dancing, their laughter a soft, tinkling sound that filled the air with joy. "Hello, Toby," one of them giggled, its voice as soft as a whisper. "We're the Glimmerbugs, and we're here to show you something special." Toby's eyes sparkled with excitement. "What's special?" he asked, his voice full of wonder. The Glimmerbugs twirled around him, their wings making a soft, shimmering sound as they moved. They flew ahead, beckoning him to follow. Toby eagerly padded after them, his curiosity piqued by their playful energy. They led him to the center of the meadow, where a giant, glowing mushroom stood tall, its cap as wide as Toby's little paws. The mushroom emitted a soft, warm light, casting a gentle glow across the meadow. As Toby drew closer, he noticed a small silver key hanging from one of the mushroom's branches. The key shimmered in the moonlight, its shape delicate and graceful, like something out of a fairy tale. "The key," said one of the Glimmerbugs, hovering beside Toby. "This is the key to the hidden garden, a place where wishes grow." Toby's heart skipped a beat. A hidden garden? Where wishes grow? It sounded magical, like something out of a dream. But then, a small frown creased his face. "Where's the door to the garden?" he asked, his little paws scanning the meadow for a hidden entrance. The Glimmerbugs giggled again, their wings fluttering like soft, glowing clouds. "The garden door is invisible, Toby," one of them explained. "But it can be found with a little help from our friend, the Moonbeam Owl." Toby's ears perked up. "The Moonbeam Owl?" he repeated, his voice full of wonder. Before he could ask more, a soft hoot echoed through the trees. Toby's eyes widened as a large, graceful owl fluttered down from the treetops. Its feathers were soft and silvery, glowing faintly like moonlight. The owl landed gently beside Toby, its large eyes sparkling with wisdom and kindness. "Hello, little bear," the owl said, its voice deep and soothing. "I hear you're looking for the hidden garden." Toby nodded eagerly. "Yes, I have the key, but I don't know where the door is." The owl blinked wisely. The door is not something you can see with your eyes alone, young one. You must listen to the whispers of the wind and feel the heartbeat of the earth beneath your paws. The door will reveal itself when you are ready." Toby felt a sense of calm wash over him. The owl's voice was so gentle, and its words seemed to make everything feel just right. Toby closed his eyes for a moment, listening to the breeze as it rustled through the trees and feeling the soft earth beneath his paws. He took a deep breath, his heart steady, his mind clear. He slowly opened his eyes and looked around once more. The meadow seemed the same, yet different. There, in front of him, the air shimmered, just a little, like the morning fog lifting at dawn. Toby stepped forward, and as if by magic, the door to the hidden garden appeared, glowing softly. The glimmerbugs cheered, and the moonbeam owl nodded in approval. Toby could hardly believe his eyes. The garden beyond the door was bathed in a soft, golden light, and from within, the gentle sound of chimes echoed, as if the garden itself were singing a lullaby. With a soft smile, Toby turned to the owl. "Thank you," he whispered. The owl smiled warmly. "You did well, little bear. Now go and see the garden where wishes grow." And with that, Toby stepped into the hidden garden, the door closing softly behind him. He couldn't wait to see what magical surprises awaited him inside, and what wonders he would discover next. Toby stepped into the garden, and his little paws sank into the softest grass he had ever felt. The air was sweet, carrying the scent of honey and wildflowers. Around him, golden trees swayed gently, their leaves shimmering like tiny sunlit mirrors. The sky above was painted in hues of lavender and soft pink, as if the sunset had decided to linger a little longer, just for this special place. As Toby wandered deeper, he noticed the garden was unlike anything he had imagined. There were glowing streams that babbled quietly, their waters glittering like liquid stars. Tiny bridges arched gracefully over the streams, each one carved with delicate patterns of vines and flowers. "Wow," Toby whispered, his eyes wide with wonder. He felt as though he had stepped into a dream. Just then, a soft humming sound caught his attention. Toby followed the sound to a small clearing where tiny flowers were blooming, each one shaped like a bell. The flowers swayed gently, their petals opening and closing as they sang. The melody was soft and comforting like a lullaby, and Toby couldn't help but sit and listen for a while. "Hello there," came a tiny voice. Toby turned to see a small creature with wings that sparkled like diamonds. It was no bigger than his paw, and its eyes twinkled with kindness. "I'm Lila," the creature said, fluttering close to him. "Welcome to the Garden of Wishes. You must be Toby." "How did you know my name?" Toby asked, tilting his head in surprise. "Oh, the garden knows everyone who visits," Lila said with a giggle. "And it told me you'd be coming today." Toby smiled, his heart filling with warmth. "What's this place?" he asked. "It's so beautiful." Lila landed on a nearby flower, her tiny wings folding neatly behind her. "This is where wishes grow," she explained. "Every flower in this garden holds a wish inside. Some are small, like wishing for a sunny day. Others are big, like wishing for a new adventure. Would you like to see your wish?" Toby's eyes lit up. "My wish?" Lila nodded. "Every visitor's wish blooms somewhere in this garden. Follow me, and I'll show you." Toby followed Lila as she fluttered ahead, her tiny figure glowing like a firefly in the twilight. They passed sparkling fountains and trees that seemed to hum softly, their branches swaying in rhythm with the garden's gentle melody. Everywhere he looked, there was something magical. Clouds that floated just above the ground, flowers that glowed softly in every color imaginable, and even tiny animals with fur that sparkled like dew. Finally, they reached a patch of flowers that seemed to shine a little brighter than the rest. Lila hovered near one of them, a soft, golden bloom that swayed gently in the breeze. "This is your wish, Toby," Lila said, her voice full of excitement. Toby stepped closer, his heart thudding softly in his chest. The flower's petals began to open slowly, revealing a tiny glowing orb inside. As Toby gazed into the orb, he saw a vision of himself exploring new places, meeting new friends, and finding little adventures that filled his heart with joy. Toby gasped. "That's my wish," he whispered. Lila nodded. "Your wish is to explore and discover the magic in the world around you. And this garden brought you here to show you that the magic you're looking for is always closer than you think." Toby felt a warmth spread through him, like the sun peeking out from behind a cloud. The garden wasn't just a magical place. It was a reminder that the world was full of wonder, if only he kept his eyes and heart open. Just as Toby was soaking in the beauty of his wish, a soft rustling came from nearby. Lila turned, her tiny wings twitching in surprise. "Oh dear," she said, flying closer to the sound. "It seems one of the glowberries has rolled away." "Glowberries?" Toby asked, following her. Lila pointed to a bush nearby, where small, glowing berries hung like tiny lanterns. "Glowberries light up the garden pathways at night," she explained. "But one of them must have rolled off and gotten lost. Without it, part of the garden might get dark." Toby's ears perked up. "I can help," he said eagerly. "Where should we look?" Lila's face brightened. "Thank you, Toby. I think it might have rolled toward the starlit pond. Follow me." The two made their way through the garden, the soft glow of the flowers lighting their path. When they reached the pond, Toby noticed the water was so clear, he could see tiny, glowing fish swimming beneath the surface. The glowberry was resting on the edge of the pond, its soft light reflecting on the water like a tiny moon. Toby carefully picked it up with his paw, making sure not to drop it. "Got it," he said, his voice full of pride. Lila clapped her tiny hands. "Wonderful! Let's take it back to the glowberry bush." As they returned the glowberry to its rightful place, the entire bush seemed to glow even brighter, casting a warm light across the garden. Lila turned to Toby with a smile. "Thank you, Toby," she said. "The garden is brighter because of you." Toby felt his heart swell with happiness. Helping the garden felt just as magical as exploring it. Toby's paws patted softly over the shimmering grass as he and Lila approached the heart of the garden. The air seemed to grow warmer, carrying a melody so faint and sweet, it felt like the garden itself was humming a lullaby. Lila fluttered just ahead, her tiny wings scattering specks of golden light. "We're almost there," Lila said, her voice brimming with excitement. "This is the garden's most magical place. It's where all the wishes come together." Toby's heart quickened, but not with fear. It was a gentle flutter of anticipation, like the feeling of opening a gift. The glow of the path ahead grew brighter, and as they turned a corner, Toby gasped at the sight before him. In the center of a wide clearing stood a magnificent tree, taller and grander than any Toby had ever seen. Its trunk was pure silver, shimmering like moonlight on a calm lake, and its branches stretched high into the sky, cradling leaves that glowed with every color of the rainbow. At the base of the tree, soft, golden light spilled onto the ground, illuminating the delicate flowers that bloomed in a perfect circle around it. "This," Lila said, hovering beside him, "is the wishing tree." Toby stepped closer, his eyes wide with wonder. The tree seemed alive, its branches swaying ever so slightly as though it were breathing. As Toby approached, he noticed tiny orbs of light nestled among the leaves, each one glowing softly, pulsing like a heartbeat. "What are those?" Toby asked, his voice hushed. "Those are wishes," Lila explained, her tone reverent. "When someone's wish is ready to bloom, the tree holds it here, waiting for the right moment to release it into the world. And Toby, one of those wishes is yours." Toby's breath caught. "Mine?" Lila nodded, her tiny face glowing with pride. "The tree chose you because you're curious and kind. Your wish is special, and now it's time for you to see it come to life." Toby's tail wagged slowly as he stepped closer to the tree. The golden light seemed to wrap around him like a warm hug, and he felt a calmness settle over his heart. One of the glowing orbs began to drift down from the branches, floating gently toward him. As the orb came closer, it grew brighter and brighter until it stopped just above Toby's head. Then, with a soft hum, the orb opened, releasing a swirl of golden light that danced around him like fireflies. The light formed images in the air, visions of places Toby had only dreamed of. He saw rolling hills covered in flowers, sparkling streams winding through forests, and distant lands filled with wonders waiting to be discovered. And in every vision, Toby saw himself exploring, his heart full of joy and his spirit alive with curiosity. The light swirled faster, wrapping around Toby like a gentle breeze, and then it flowed toward the ground, forming a glowing path that stretched out before him. "This," Lila said softly, "is your journey. The tree has shown you what lies ahead, but the path is yours to follow. Every step will be an adventure, and every moment will be magical, because you've already discovered the most important thing of all." Toby looked at her, his eyes shining. "What's that?" he asked. Lila smiled. "That the magic you're looking for has always been inside you." Toby's heart felt as though it might burst with happiness. The tree's light dimmed slightly, settling into a soft glow, and Toby took a deep breath, feeling a newfound sense of excitement and peace. "I'm ready," he said, his voice steady and full of wonder. Lila fluttered beside him, her wings glowing brighter than ever. "Then let's take the first step together." And so, with the golden path glowing softly before them, Toby and Lila began their journey into the unknown, the wishing tree's light guiding them toward endless possibilities. The garden seemed to hum a quiet melody, as if bidding them farewell and wishing them well on their way. As Toby walked, he glanced back at the tree one last time, its shimmering branches standing tall against the twilight sky. He smiled, knowing that no matter where his adventures took him, the magic of the garden and the joy of discovering something new would always be a part of him. Toby stood before a clearing at the heart of the Garden of Wishes. The air was tinged with a golden glow, and the soft rustling of the trees seemed to be urging him forward. Lila fluttered beside him, her wings shimmering with excitement. "This is it, Toby," she said softly. "The heart of the garden. Your wish has brought you here." Toby's tail swished with curiosity as he stepped closer. At the center of the clearing stood a tree unlike any he had seen before. Its trunk sparkled with a silvery sheen, and its branches were laden with shimmering blossoms that pulsed like tiny stars. The roots of the tree curled outward, forming gentle pathways that seemed to beckon him forward. "It's beautiful," Toby whispered, his voice filled with wonder. Lila nodded. "This is the wishing tree," she explained. "It holds the heart of every wish ever made in this garden. And today, it has something very special for you." Toby's ears perked up. "For me?" With a giggle, Lila pointed to a small golden leaf that had fallen from the tree and was now floating just above the ground. It glowed softly, spinning lazily as though waiting for him to pick it up. Toby patted closer, his heart beating with quiet excitement. As he reached out with his paw, the leaf drifted gently into his grasp. The moment he touched it, the entire clearing seemed to come alive. The blossoms on the tree began to glow brighter, casting a warm, golden light that wrapped around Toby like a comforting hug. A soft, melodic hum filled the air, and tiny sparks of light danced around him, like fireflies celebrating his arrival. "What's happening?" Toby asked, his eyes wide with awe. Lila smiled, her voice gentle and reassuring. "The tree is sharing its magic with you. Hold the leaf close and see what it reveals." Toby pressed the golden leaf against his chest, and in an instant, his surroundings transformed. He found himself standing in a meadow that stretched endlessly, filled with flowers that sparkled like gemstones. The sky above was painted with swirling colors, as though someone had poured a rainbow into the heavens. In the distance, Toby saw tiny figures emerging from the flowers. They were magical creatures, some with wings, some with shimmering fur, and others with flowing robes that sparkled like moonlight. Each one carried a small light, and as they approached, they formed a circle around him. One of the creatures, a tall figure with luminous eyes, stepped forward and spoke in a voice as soft as the wind. "Toby, your wish to explore the magic of the world has led you here, and now the garden wishes to give you a gift in return." Toby tilted his head, his curiosity bubbling over. "A gift?" The figure nodded and held out a small, glowing orb. It sparkled with a gentle light, radiating warmth and joy. "This is a piece of the garden's magic," the creature explained. "It will light your path wherever you go, reminding you that wonder and magic are always close by." Toby's eyes filled with amazement as he accepted the orb. It fit perfectly in his paw, glowing softly as though it had been made just for him. "Thank you," Toby said, his voice filled with gratitude. "I'll treasure it always." The creatures around him smiled, their lights flickering gently like candles in the breeze. One by one, they began to fade, their lights blending into the colors of the meadow until only Toby and Lila remained. As the vision dissolved, Toby found himself back in the clearing with the wishing tree. The golden leaf in his paw had transformed into a small pendant, glowing softly with the same light as the orb he had been given. Lila fluttered closer, her eyes twinkling with pride. "The garden chose you for this journey, Toby, and now you carry its magic with you." Toby looked at the pendant, a warm smile spreading across his face. He felt braver, happier, and more curious than ever before. As he turned to leave the clearing, the garden seemed to hum softly around him, as though bidding him farewell. The flowers glowed a little brighter, the trees swayed gently, and the air carried a melody that filled his heart with joy. And as Toby stepped back onto the path that led him home, he knew this was just the beginning of many magical adventures to come. Toby padded gently along the soft, winding path, the golden pendant swinging lightly around his neck. The forest was quiet now, bathed in the gentle silver glow of the moon. The same trees that had whispered secrets earlier now seemed to hum softly as if singing him a lullaby. Each step he took felt lighter, as though the magic of the wishing tree had filled his paws with a quiet energy. The path home felt familiar yet enchanted, as though every leaf and stone had been touched by the magic of the garden. Toby paused now and then, looking around and noticing things he hadn't seen before. The way the light danced on dew-dappled grass, how the stars peeked playfully through the canopy of leaves, and the faint scent of honeysuckle carried by the breeze. "This journey was more than I ever imagined," Toby murmured, his voice soft with wonder. Beside him, Lila fluttered close, her tiny wings shimmering in the moonlight. "Every adventure changes us, Toby," she said with a knowing smile. "And the best ones remind us of who we've always been." Toby's tail swayed gently as he thought about her words. He remembered the glowing pathways, the playful river, the gentle creatures, and the magic that had surrounded him at every turn. But more than anything, he remembered how brave and curious he had felt. "I never thought I'd find something as magical as the wishing tree," Toby said. "But I think the real magic was discovering what I could do." Lila twirled in the air, her laughter as light as a breeze. "That's the secret of every adventure. It shows you the magic inside yourself." As they walked on, the forest began to thin, and Toby could see the warm, golden light of his home in the distance. The sight made his heart feel cozy, like being wrapped in a soft blanket. He thought about the glowing pendant around his neck, and how it seemed to hold all the light and joy of the journey he'd just taken. "Do you think the garden will miss me?" Toby asked, glancing back toward the path that led to the wishing tree. Lila landed on his shoulder, her tiny hands resting gently on his ear. "The garden doesn't say goodbye, Toby. It's always there, waiting for you. And every time you look at that pendant, you'll carry a piece of its magic with you." Toby smiled at her words, a warmth spreading through his chest. As they neared his home, the soft sounds of the night seemed to echo his feelings. The gentle hoot of an owl, the rustling of leaves in the breeze, and the distant melody of a stream. He stepped through the gate of his little garden, where the fireflies danced in welcome. The flowers that lined the path to his door swayed gently, their petals glistening as though they, too, had been touched by magic. Toby turned to Lila, his voice filled with gratitude. "Thank you for guiding me, Lila. I couldn't have done it without you." Lila smiled, her wings glowing softly. "You were the one who followed the magic, Toby. I was just there to remind you that you could." With that, Lila fluttered upward, her wings shimmering against the starlit sky. "Good night, Toby," she said, her voice as light as the wind. "May all your dreams be filled with wonder." Toby watched her until she disappeared into the trees, a tiny speck of light fading into the night. Then he turned and stepped inside his cozy little home. The fire crackled softly in the hearth, and his favorite blanket was draped over his favorite chair. Toby climbed up, curling into the soft folds of the blanket as the golden pendant glowed faintly against his fur. As he gazed out the window, the stars twinkled like tiny lanterns, each one holding the promise of a new adventure. Toby yawned, his eyes growing heavy, but his heart was light. And And so, Toby whispered to himself, every adventure begins with a little curiosity. His eyes fluttered closed, and a gentle smile lingered on his face. And as Toby drifted into a peaceful sleep, the golden pendant shimmered softly, a quiet reminder that magic is always closer than we think, waiting to be discovered in the smallest of moments. Dear listener, as you close your eyes tonight, let your dreams carry you to places full of wonder. Who knows? Maybe you'll find your own magical garden, where every question leads to an adventure, and every adventure leaves behind a story. Good night, and sweet dreams.